Aha, I'm live. Yay. Okay, so I am Aaron Villanueva, and this is today's stream of boredom, and perhaps I'll do something awesome in Diablo as I talk, but mostly I, I'm probably not going to be talking about Diablo very much today. Rather, I think that I need to get some of the thoughts that I have inside my head to the outside of my head. Because from what I've learned or heard of through talk therapy and experienced with my own dilemmas of personal doubt, uh, fear, uncertainty, depression, anxiety, is that if we stay quiet about it, or if I stay quiet about my own personal struggles too long, and I feel unheard, it makes me withdraw even more into myself and makes me want to find out what the right answer is. And I think that becomes very problematic for me because it gets so like wrapped up in my own head that if I ever came to a solution, I wouldn't know it. There's there's just simply too much thinking going on. uh, what if this? What if that? Uh, Constantly designing a plan without any end in mind because the worst part about life sometimes is that there is no solution. Problems are continuous, they're ongoing. And there are moments where you don't have problems and moments where you do. And right now, I'm having a little bit of a non issue, I guess, as far as, I don't know, my own internal personal dilemmas. This is something, I guess, I don't, I think that it's more reality related and not so much something that is, uh, hmm, what's a good word? Uh, so personal or situational. I think that, yeah, overall it's more of just a non-issue reality thing. And I actually had to like Wikipedia information last night because while while I feel like a very intelligent person, or rather, I'm always the kind of person that asks why, because just blindly accepting answers sometimes got me in a lot of trouble. 36 years old, and sometimes asking why got me in trouble, and I never really understood that because it's like people expect you to know everything, and they treat you all through your life as though you're ignorant. You got your early years of development. I was constantly under the impression that I was an idiot from that age. I didn't think that space was flat. I couldn't see our universe as being anything other than uh, ovular in nature. Because where there's an outward shift, there has to be an upward shift. Upward, downward from center, and outward, inward from center. So it makes sort of a weird calculation that it's not necessarily that it's always expanding outwards, but at the same time it expands to a measurable distance. How then do I count for redshifting? Well, I, I have to be honest. As a child, I don't know that I could have explained why I thought the universe was an oval, but a four-dimensional oval. And I I wish that I had more information, but I don't. Like, it's I feel like in some instances I'm the first person who is like, well, the Earth has to be roundish. I feel the same about space. It has to be roundish. It's it's all fluid. Where there's a giant outward push of material, no matter how fast it's going, it's always going to be resisting something else. If infinite nothingness is expanding outward, I feel like at the longest points of it, matter will be able to, if there's enough matter, that along the outside edges of your oval, four-dimensional, that there is enough matter moving forward and getting pushed back that it makes room for matter behind it to continue the momentum and go beyond what went backward as an upward slash downward arc. I say upward slash downward arc because both are happening, for lack of a better terminology again, because time is relative to the perceiver, so you can't actually say at the same time because it's not at the same time, but eh. So I don't know. I guess in some ways I'm like chalking it up to grammar and whatnot. But usually this is the basis of a word problem. But again, I'm not a physicist. I I have very little knowledge when it comes to the equative natures of physics, you see, because while I feel like a very smart person, I know enough to know some things, and I've observed enough to conclude some things, but I'm not arrogant enough to presume that I know it. It's just an opinion. A lot of people get on YouTube and they generate opinions and whatnot, but sometimes it's like, uh, I don't know. This guy sounds like an idiot. I've heard tons of people like that on the internet. Tons of them. I'll just outright say I have a GED. It doesn't mean that I'm not intelligent. First and foremost, I'd like you to know that I don't apply myself in most situations because I'm not that ambitious. I am honest. I feel like my lack of ambition is really what kicks me in the butt most times. Because while I'm intelligent enough to understand, I'm not always patient, you see, and that's what is an intelligent person pushes me more towards an ignorant person like anyone else. I'm only as intelligent as I ever wish to be in a moment. I guess that's true with anyone. But I'm also all over the place. Sorry. We're going like 9 different directions, but it's cool. I'm keeping up. Uh, Going back to how others perceive us as far as being intelligent and when we are children versus teenagers versus young adults. I still feel like I'm in the young adult category. Like I'm not past 40 yet, but I'm getting there. And the ever growing nostalgia of adding, oh God, well, that was 20 years ago. Yeah. When I'm 46, it'll be like, oh God, 16 was 30 years ago. When I'm 100, it'll be like, oh wow, time flies. I'm too old for this. Let me go back inside and take a nap. But as a kid, no one expects much from you because you're a kid. You're an idiot. Just straight out of the room, you're gonna straight out of the womb. Once you start talking, from that moment forth, it's like, oh, be unsure of what this kid is saying. Why is the grass green? Oh, I don't know how to explain chlorophyll to you or light refraction slash absorption. I can't. It is. There's some grass that's blue. Well, what? Why does it blue? Shit. Again, don't make me explain some things that I don't know. But that's like the adults that I was around. I didn't have a lot of people that are like, "Oh, well, let's go find out together." Oh no, kitty cat. I don't know what you want, man. Do you want a lap to sit in, Jackson? Sorry, kitty cat. Uh, Once you're a teenager, you've been treated like you should know things so much, or at least what I should say in this situation is me and my personal experience with adults. Not everybody has had that sort of life, so I won't I won't chalk it up to everyone is like me. I might also add that at this moment I had been under the impression that I should know it all. That if an answer came into my head, that's obviously what it was. It seems like I had a lot of people who were ignorant teaching me ignorance. And this is maybe why therapy is helpful. But as another note, uh, I had a family member in my life who was a parental figure, and I had to mind them. And by mind, I really mean do what they said or else. And that person taught me that I would never be smart enough. I would never be strong enough. I would never be smarter than him, and I would never amount to anything. We all have lessons to learn in life, and I don't know. In some notes, maybe my sins of my past life were pride, and so in this life I was reduced to be humble. But in other ways, it's like biting on your teeth and being like, "Eesh, yo, man, that sounds pretty rough." A little bit. Uh, I again, as I said, lots of time doubting myself. But at the same time, lots of internal rage at myself. But but again, we're talking about intelligence, I guess, and not so much emotional. I'm not very socially intelligent. And that's what gets me. It's like it gets real hard to like try to like just have normal conversation with anyone except for like people who had really messed up childhoods or like also sort of understand what it's like to be socially detached and unaware. I I've been taught not to like a lot of the people of the world, but again, a lot of people expected me to know answers that I could never know answers to as a 16-year-old. Granted, at 16, I was reading college level reading level, and I don't know. I've been reading high school level since like fifth grade, so obviously I should be in college by then. But part of that is like an escape from what I saw into what I imagine there could be. Again, the mind is a tantalizing place of darkness. You become wrapped up in it and find so much comfort there. It's scary. Though I feel like in some instances maybe the world should fall silent in thought. Is that infinite screen being problematic? And ah, the weather. Look at how awesome that is. S- Sorry, I you may notice that I live in the United States, but all of my stuff is set to Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. It's okay. I like it like that. Uh, you know, 32 degrees Celsius, as you know, is about the temperature of my processor on on I don't know, my on hot moments for my processor. 20 22 is like a wet dream. I usually end up at about 24 degrees Celsius. 24 degrees Celsius is a cool temperature of about 71, 72. But yeah, 32, that's like 80s. And yeah, 80s, I think. Simple click to find out. Oh, 89, almost 90. 71, 76. See, once you start messing around with Celsius, it's actually fairly awesome. Oh, no, 18 tonight? Dang, it's gonna be cold. Sorry. Uh, I I might also have an all over the place disorder. Uh, I can focus on something so long as that's what I'm focusing on. But the moment that anything else is introduced, I tend to focus on that. Probably one of the reasons why it's additionally so comfortable for me personally in my own experience to be so wrapped up in my brain. But yeah, when I hit, uh, I don't know, 20, 21, it was like, well, obviously now you are certainly not a child and you should be able to take care of yourself. And it's like, how do you expect me to be able to take care of myself? Uh, in 16 years since I was 20, job pay has not gone up that significantly that a person by themselves would be able to have a property, whether it be apartment, house, trailer, or be able to pay all of their bills and still be able to have time at home to, for their family or for themselves or to find a family and still work. Like, mental health hasn't always been a big thing. Uh, Stabilizing relationships with your parents hasn't always been a big thing. Like, to me, the only constant thing that I've ever noticed in our own society is that everyone always expects you to never be at home. And then when you aren't at home, they get upset at you like it's somehow your fault for never having the time to be at home. Like you're not overworked. You like I don't know. Things have been bad, but people seem to be resilient. I don't know how. I've tried to kill myself like nine times. But again, that's not so much a bright, sunny topic of conversation, nor is it about intelligence. And it should it should say in some notes that it's better that I'm here now and have survived, or perhaps I'm merely just an observer who got changed over to a lifetime where I was still alive, yet parallel realities and existences. Energy doesn't die, it only changes forms. It's not destroyed. Sorry, my mouth was getting really dry. Uh, but yeah, I think about all sorts of things, like I said. So I still don't know that I know any answer about why the universe is ovular, how intelligent I really am. I think that everybody has talents. My talent is that it's a super useless talent, but things that I am interested in that pull my attention toward them for me, I tend to see things that no one else does. Perhaps it's just an opinion. Perhaps it's not that no one sees it and it's just I am one of few, which is more likely. Oh, man, the likeliness of something, statistics, a theoretical science, all involved in odd numbers based off of imagined factors or circumstantial factors. Uh, There's a kitty cat being mischievous. Yo, bro, I fed you. When it comes to looking at those things, I tend to be a fair observer. I retain information about things that I'm interested in fairly well, so long as it doesn't involve math, numbers, and letters get all mixed up in my brain, so anything that has to do with equations goes right out the window. I'm lucky that after 36 years of trying to remember a square plus b square equals c square, that is a formula. Huzzah, I've done it. And I mean, I couldn't call myself a fan of physics or relativity or Einstein if I didn't know E equals mc squared. I've heard people explain this, those things thousands of times in my life or in this life, and for the life of me, I still cannot recall what they said about it. However, I do know that necrotizing fasciitis is a flesh eating virus. I know that amoebas have a false foot, and that's how they move, and they're parasitic. Yeah, I would say that I'm limited for knowledge, really. At best, if I considered myself wise, I'd also have to consider myself a fool because you can't have answers without making mistakes. My life is lots of mistakes, but the resulting experience left me with wisdom. What a wondrous world we live in. Cause and effect. Philosophy. I really enjoy philosophy. I can't tell you. I, Friedrich Nietzsche. That's the name of a philosopher that I'm I'm currently listening to on audiobooks. Such a short attention span though, or weird attention span. Somebody will say, or the person who is reading it will say something, and it'll make me have 15 minutes of thought, and I've missed half the book, or like 3 chapters. It's terrible. I don't know how I've made it through life thusly. By maybe listening to people and sometimes just fogging out and trying to pick up and remember what I heard them say. It's all terrible. Like I'll remember your face after seeing you once, especially if you have a memorable face to me. Your name, you might be yo man for a really long time before I ever remember your name. I'm sorry about that. We can still be friends. I can be Aaron, and you'll be, hey, or hey, man, it's been a long time, right? Uh, or oh, hi. Oh my God, is that you? Yeah, I'm that person, but it's not because I'm like trying to be rude. I really don't remember your name, and I'm so sorry, and I feel really bad. I really do. Like, and then here's the kicker. This is where anxiety gets me like a mofo. I will be up later on that night worrying about it. Did they notice? Were they mad? Were they mad that I didn't remember their name? I think they were. Maybe things got a little bit weird after I was like, hi. Yeah, I gotta work on my inflection or something. Maybe it has something to do with the vocal pitch range that I can produce. Or maybe they saw the look on my face. What face was I making? Oh man, I'm gonna have to get up out of bed and go look in the mirror, aren't I? I am. It's just gonna keep bothering me. But I really want to lay here and sleep. Please, let me lay here and sleep. The bed isn't actually that soft. I have to go look at my face. The bed is that soft. I shouldn't look at my face. It will take me a long time. Sorry, I cut back like into everything. Eh, See, another thing makes life super annoying. It's like I don't know if there are other people that do any of that. Like it's just annoying. So annoying. Sorry. That that weird noise was a burp. I promise you, and I did that mildly intentionally, so it wasn't like loud in the mic. But I didn't expect it to also like come out like a weird demon breathing, like, oh God, who is this guy? Is he possessed? Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, just an observer. That's all I can prove definitively. I observe things. Ooh. Okay, you two. We're outside. I so an oval that pushes outward from the center and upward from the center. Uh, I wonder how it moves around. Because it's an amorphous blob of gas that's probably powered by the largest black hole or blob. Oh my goodness. Motorcycles. I'm just trying to go outside and have a cigarette. Thinking too much. Uh, so whatever is at the center of the now possibly amorphous blob, or not amorphous blob, amorphous oval. Uh, this is assuming that the universe is contained within what would appear to be as a multiple. Okay. The best way to explain it is that a lot of physicists are saying that the universe is a program, like a computer program. If that is true, then it's not just, or it's not the universe that's the like program. It's what would be the multiverse. If the multiverse theory is correct, all universes expanding into each other infinitely, we would see evidence of blue shifting from light that would be entering into our universe from another universe. Strangely enough, also, there's no telling. There is no current calculation for the amount of matter that could negatively affect our universe from the entering of foreign particles into our universe, though they might not be in quite the same phase or uh, or whatnot. Like, but yeah, most of the evidence that we have about other universes would say that they are simply just touching our own. I think that this implies the existence of universe chains existing in like the universes directly touch each other because of and while there uh, another thing that I have a problem with is I don't get to say all of the things that I want to say. My brain says some of them inside of my head still and not out loud. Um, but yeah, I'm really having a hard time formulating this into words. Uh, so scientists say that the universe is more like a computer program or string of code than anything else. And within coding parameters, there's a term called uh, dimensionality. It refers to the way in which lines of code are stacked on top of each other in order for an overall program to run. And I think that when you start to talk about how many dimensions exist, things become even more of that point that the universe is, or the multiverse is a computer program. So basically, if we're all written into a computer program, and we use ones and zeros. Why aren't why isn't our perceived universe square? Because in a way, it stacking within a cube makes the literal most sense. Like to to a degree. But from what we've seen, our universe exists within a flat disk. And if you're writing computer programming code, you might write it onto a disk. But the shape of each bit of information is very unique, and not every bit of information is the same size. I do know some about computer programming, though I do not code. Certain jobs in the world require that you have some information and not all of it. If anything, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. I have no background in anything. I have a background in IT. So like I I can build computers, I can or upload or download software to it. I can install software. I can connect it to networks. Like it, eh, I see it as meaningless. But I don't know. That's just me. I I wish I had more information on coding because well, I wish I had more information on coding and I could actually do algebra because I feel like I could formulate a calculation to say one way or the other as to whether or not the universe were actually a code. But to my original premise, I think that since our universe, as observed, is not a cube, it must exist within some other shape. An oval gives it more like a sort of lens quality. And I don't know, when you stack a bunch of lenses around, depending on their orientation, it's actually a fairly stable shape. I don't know. Ovals can overlap but not enter each other. So if you looked at an up on top of looking down to view of a bunch of ovals overlapping slightly without actually invading one another, the oval ring would look more like the petals of a flower or bunch of did you ever have one of those like pen doodads that was like gears with a bunch of holes and you'd put a pen in it and like put another circle around it and move the pen around the circle and end up making a bunch of like weird crazy shapes? Yeah, it's along the principle of that, but now translate that from one dimension to two dimension or to third dimension or to fourth dimension. It tends to become really complicated to look at in a lot of ways. I would have to say that my brain doesn't actually understand it all the way. Nor can it visualize it or explain that to somebody else. I'm just soul searching for the best words, I guess, or best explanation to my theory that I can come up with. But I think a lot of crazy things. I thought that Jupiter and the Sun had to be binaries of each other based off of Jupiter's mass, position, and how Earth's revolution around the Sun is more of a wobbled pitch than staying straight flat, as per Einstein's denotion. Or, yeah, it was Einstein and not bad. My mic keeps cutting in and out because I'm outside. Or I'll have to pick up a cigarette butt out of the yard later. Yeah, well, it's 25 degrees outside now. You know, at 25 degrees outside, no, 25 degrees Celsius, I'm wearing a hoodie and pants. I bet when it's 32 degrees Celsius tomorrow that I'm probably gonna be wearing a hoodie and pants. And it's 32 degrees Celsius, 89. You guys are complaining about how hot it is and stuff, and I'm like, man, like, I don't know, I had to do a lot of work in warm parts of the country. It was hot, it was muggy, and I was wearing pants and boots and socks almost up to my knees and another shirt on top of my shirt that was a long sleeve shirt and a wool hat. I'm like, man, you guys, why do you got us doing stuff in a wool hat outside right now? They're like, because it's hot and you got a bald head. You got to protect it. I did work in the army. But yeah, besides the point. You don't need to know my whole life story. Just I was all over the place and trying to explain one simple freaking idea, but went all the way back to the beginning of time, which is relative. Oh, okay. So, multiverse theory. Super interesting to get into because through a technicality within the multiverse theory, no one moment goes unnoticed because that moment existed as a singular momentary moment. It exists in perpetuality. That which will exist also exists at the same time as current time. So every moment, past, present, and future, already exist. Ah, but what a free will? Science hasn't really accounted for that, but religion has. I think that overall, religion and science are two parts of the same whole. Just like religion also has to incorporate psychology and sociology. I feel like there are so many areas of the world that we've denoted into being separate studies that we forget that within any one any one area of study, it branches into other areas of study. If you're looking at biology, you also have to look at geology. Where does the thing that you're looking at live? What are the conditions of that environment? What's the water like? What's the ecology? What's the anthropology of the culture? What's the history of it? What's the psychology? What is on not just the thing that you're looking at's mind? I guess the whole culture of the thing is anthropology, isn't it? Dang. Okay, so then I went into explaining anthropology for those that don't know what it is. But yeah, it's it's all science too. You, I think that there are a lot of interesting things in this world, and too many of them to be interested in one specific thing. I got into tech because I thought, oh, well, it's so new, it's so interesting. I'll never run out of things to be interested in within the technological world. I'm bored of it, mostly. I have a $3,000 piece of machine called a computer, and most of it in expense is peripheral and not so much component. I like onboard stuff. I'm not like running 9 graphics cards or anything like that. It's just I got expensive fans. I got an expensive keyboard. I got an expensive mouse. I got an expensive monitor. But like in the end of it, it doesn't help me feel like I've really achieved anything. We got a want-based society rather than a society based off of need. I don't need it. That is one thing that I found out. That as much as fun as it having it is, like, man, I turn it on, I'm like, I'm gonna game. I game for 15 minutes And then I'm like, all right, I gotta go do some other stuff. I had to go eat. I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go to work because I gotta be able to pay so I can have internet, so I could like watch my TV or shows. Oh, I could watch my TV or shows. Yeah, my my gaming computer usually watches freaking Netflix. Like, I'm not trying to like advertise. It's just I don't know the way of it. Oh, so that way it's not like I'm like I don't know, trying to name steal or anything. Oh, would you look at that? It's Betflix. Let's Flix. Oh, I guess I'm not like branding it or whatever, calling it my own. So no, I don't know. Honesty policy. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm hitting that point where I've talked for too long to no one without any other insight. Let's see if we have chatters. Oh, this is sad. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna peace out. Yep. Bye bye. Have a good time watching the video. I'm sorry that I was all over the place. I I did this for me mostly. I need someone to hear it. Anybody, even if it's no one, I guess, and it's just the internet listening. Oh, yeah, wait. Uh, Facebook and Google are totally listening. I know that. So you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to disagree. If anything that I made sense, if anything that I said made sense, and you feel like I've got like a good idea on my hands, and that I should try to go on to like try to prove it, I don't. I'm gonna let you know that I don't really have that ambition. I, I don't care if I'm the first person to say, "Oh, this idea." I don't necessarily need the proof, but it'd be nice if other people were like, "No, it's true." Then I'd be like, "Oh, cool beans." But yeah, have a good day. Bye bye.